in preparation for what to share that has meaning and can hold all that is in the world today, both in our individual lives and in the broader tragedies of the world. I struggle with who is God? What is God? Where is God? How is God showing up in my life and in the world today? And for me, scripture and church and the whole thing can be summed up into two things: remember and encourage. It's so easy, if being exposed to the news, being exposed to drivers on the streets, being exposed to the young woman who was asleep in front of our community room in Kenmore. Kenmore has been very protected, but from the realities of the Seattle, I don't even know what to call it. It's so painful to see so many people unhoused and unwell. And last night, one of my tenants sent me a text, "Kerri, can you come down to the community room?" I was like, oh my goodness, is the washer not working? And she said, no, someone's asleep in front of our door. And I came down and I could not tell. There was just a blanket and something under it rhythmically twitching. And I had said to my son, hey, can you come outside? But he wasn't there yet. And I just was compelled. And I said, are you okay? And it was a young woman. She couldn't have been 30. And she was absolutely incoherently out of her mind with the responses that she was giving me. They made absolutely no sense. She said, do I need to leave? And I said, well, you can't stay here, but do you need help? And she said, no, 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 and gathered up a very thin blanket, thinner than the ones I have on the back of my couch, and a pillow that you can't really even call a pillow, and started walking down the street. And I called 911 and asked for medical emergency. And because my daughter's in law enforcement, I'm not going to dwell on the response to that, because in Seattle, what that woman was experiencing is not an emergency, as heartbreaking as that is. And I blame no one for that. I'm not trying to place blame, but my heart, I literally had to stop and catch my breath. And I have struggled my entire life with who is God, and that image of a white man did not work for me, and I rebelled against it very strongly, and it was a huge stumbling block in my spiritual growth. And so I had to really just toss out that and look for my actual experience of God in my life, not what somebody told me, not fear-based or anything like that. So unpacking and sifting through and decluttering the images of God for me, I've borrowed, as Jackie shared, each other's stories. I have a funny story about one of the images that helped me unpack God. In the mid-90s, there was a show on TV called Touched by an Angel. And there was a character in that show. Her name was Tess. And she was like she had an what is that word? My son is one. Apprentice. She had an apprentice angel. So she was like, I don't know, the superior angel in the story. And the younger angel was always frantic, and there was always a problem, and somebody was addicted, or somebody was broken, or somebody died, or there was the human stuff that confuses me in relationship to God. And Tess would always have the most loving way of not providing an answer, but encouraging a shift in perspective and a compassionate curiosity and some sort of love. her calming spirit and gentle way, and the fact that she didn't have answers deeply moved me, because I'm very suspicious of answers, especially about God. There's so much mystery. And for me, when I wanted to share what my experience of God is this morning, I started getting really uncomfortable. Like, no one, in my opinion, has a complete definition, understanding, or expression of God. But we all have a piece, right? And we're all important. The thing that gets me closer to God is knowing that we all have a different swirl on the end of our fingers. And you just can't tell me that that piece of how we are created isn't an expression of God's unique love for each and every one of us. And I am one of them, and you are one of them. And people who do heinous, horrible things are one of them. My relationship with God isn't dependent on answers. It's about feeling safe to have questions. So I reached out to a few folks in our community, and there were some responses from people who I invited to share what God is to you or what God isn't to you. And I include the isn't because for me, I had to do so much deconstructing and unpacking and letting go and acceptance that all of those things were wrong. It's very hard to have this feeling like religious people know something, and then coming into an independent power of saying, I don't know that that's necessarily true. In fact, I don't believe it's true. I believe that children of God know something about God, and we are all children of God.